Hello and welcome to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I'm Will Polston. This is episode number 119, and in this episode I'm joined by Ollie Jordan Matthews. Ollie is a health coach, nutritional therapist and personal trainer who has worked with clients in 25 different countries over the last 16 years. Ollie focuses on deeper health and optimizing our lifestyles to ultimately improve energy and overall health with nutrition and movement. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 1-day body upgrade. So Ollie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Absolute pleasure. So I think this is quite an apt time to be having this conversation. The beginning of the year, for a lot of people, tweaking, optimizing and changing their health and fitness goals is a priority for a lot of people. Overeating over Christmas and under exercising over Christmas. But I think whatever time of year it is that someone's listening to this, there will be people that want to look at making changes to their health and fitness goals. I remember for me, there was sort of two key moments last year that actually weren't necessarily in January, where I thought, right, I really want to buck my ideas now and start making a change. And lots of people that work in your space are really quite focused on whether it be sort of specific fitness, what I would call a fitness goal, so a performance fitness goal, or aesthetically looking a particular way. But from getting to know you over the last few years, one of the things that I think sort of quite very important for me, in fact, is my primary goal when it comes to my health and fitness, is energy levels. And I know that that's also something that you are quite big on. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and sort of overall just sort of optimizing lifestyles, but using nutrition and movement as tools to improve energy. So for people that maybe aren't too familiar with sort of your process, I'd love for you to just sort of explain briefly what that is and really then get stuck into a bit of the backstory as to kind of why you do what you do. I think that'd be really interesting to know.
Now, when it comes to health and fitness, I think I looked at them for a while, and we'll get into the backstories, the reasons why, but they're slightly different. I see so many people push for these fitness goals and then push health to the side. And you can be fit, but not healthy. So I think the way we look at it and we look at different methodologies is that we can be really, really fit, but we don't want to be pushing our health to the side. We don't want to be causing more stress in an already stressful world. So developing methods that do allow us to get aesthetically pleasing, because I've had people say to me when they're seeing my content, that, oh, I hope it's not a bad thing. I want to look good. But yeah, we all want to look good, but it's feeling good as well. So it's working on methodologies, ensured as a nutrition therapist, functional medicine advisor, and trainer as well, to really push our performance to another level, but at the same time pushing health markers to a really great place as well.
Yeah. And why? You know, there's of all the professions that you could have ever stepped into, why do this and why do it in the way that you do it?
It is a couple of minutes to tell the story, but I'll go through it just so you can understand the backstory a little bit about why it is that I do it. Is that when I was younger, my parents split up and my dad moved away. He started selling caravans, then became a caravan sales manager, and then a holiday park, like running some caravan parks here, and ended up moving to Colchester area, and would only see him at school holidays and things. And you could see that this job was pretty stressful for him. And we'd travel from Norwich to Colchester to see him, and he would get migraines and he would be stressed out, but he wasn't overweight, didn't drink loads or anything, just stress. And he was trying to provide for his family. But when he was 47 and I was 15, unfortunately, he had a stroke and passed away. Totally healthy on the Monday, went into hospital with a migraine, had a stroke. And then on the Saturday night, we had to turn off his life support machine. And it really didn't hit me how much that was going to shape what I would do in the future. Because as any 15-year-old does, you're still growing. You don't realize how much you need a father figure there. But it was seeing my dad essentially pass away that is why I do what I do now. But after that, I started putting on weight, emotionally eating, a lot of anxiety, a lot of mental health problems. And then I stepped into a gym when I was 20. And I thought, oh, I like this feeling. I was worried about going into a gym, like a lot of people potentially will be when they start going into a gym, worried about the guys lifting the big weights and being out of place, worrying what people think when they look at you. And I started really liking it. I hired a trainer, and then I was like, no, I'm going to actually do something of this, and decided that I wanted to compete in bodybuilding, and did that, dropped 100 pounds, competed in bodybuilding. But it started making me really obsessive, like overly obsessive, to the point where it was essentially an eating disorder. Competed in 7 shows over the course of 2008 to 2012. And it just completely took over my life. I became a personal trainer, instructor, personal trainer. And it's like, okay, this is the great thing, but why am I so insecure now? I built this layer of muscle, and I didn't realize that this layer of muscle I thought, which was going to be this shell, which was going to make me really confident. It wasn't until I worked on the inside that it really, really hit me that I needed to do some extra work. But then, like, we try and push our performance to another level. And I started working with a couple of endurance athletes. And I was brought up in a family of runners. My sister, great runner. My uncle coaches the local teams. And they wouldn't ask me for help when it came to nutrition. And that was like, damn it, like, why aren't you asking for help? And I got then a bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I started working with endurance athletes and ended up working with a lot of pro cyclists, triathletes, runners on their nutrition. And it was great. It was all good. I then started going to Oxford Brookes for the Masters in Applied Sports Nutrition. And it was great to do that, but it was getting them A to B as fast as possible, not always focusing on health. It's their occupation, right? Their wins, where they place in a race, pays the bills.
Mm.
And I started working with a guy who he's my longest serving client. I've been working with him for 6 years, or coming up to 6 years this year. So 5.5 years. It'd be May time, I think it was, that we started working together. Entrepreneur and super successful. And it was great to see the difference with him. And then I thought, okay, what can I do that I've learned with these athletes to help these people? And then got working with other entrepreneurs. And then one guy messaged me. It was in October. I think it was 2016. Might have been 17. But he said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I know what to do. I need you to tell me to do it. And I Googled this guy. And then, hang on, what is Taylor Swift's manager doing messaging me? And he'd been referred, and then signed up an hour later. 3 months later, I'm in his house in Nashville. And this is the guy that when Kanye jumped on the stage for Taylor Swift, that was when he was her manager then, a guy called Rick Barker. And I've said this to him many times. And I'm standing in his kitchen, and we're all snowed in. I'm eating some turkey, and he's there, his 15-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, his wife is there. And he said, hey, Ollie, you've given me back, or given my wife back what she married 10 years ago for a 10-year anniversary. And I was like, I get goosebumps now. And I just thought that was the moment that it went from completely all about performance and just losing weight to seeing that I couldn't help my dad. But this guy who was 3 years older than when my dad died was just so appreciative of it. And it dropped. We worked for about 6 months, and now we're still good friends. He dropped about 50 pounds in that time. But it was the impact of seeing what that had firsthand on his family. Like, I could see it's a powerful story because it's giving me goosebumps just saying it now. But that was when I just realized that why can't I combine good nutrition? We look a bit deeper into the body with things like functional medicine and how we can really optimize performance, but just being healthy. And I think that's so underrated nowadays.
Wow, what a powerful story, and thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that personally, actually, and I can definitely empathize with you when it comes to having an experience with a family member that sort of drives it is the kind of fuel for a mission of wanting to make a difference and have that impact. And I suppose the thing that is very evident to me is there's so many people that work in the health and fitness space. I believe I'm right in saying that the health industry is the biggest on the planet, as I understand it. But yeah. And obviously, so many different people are doing stuff, and so many people doing it in different ways, and nobody's right or wrong. But my personal viewpoint is I completely agree with you. I think that any goal that you're trying to achieve, whatever that goal is, whether it be personal, professional, financial, whatever it is ultimately to change the way you feel. So why not start with that and then work towards that and create those means and sort of those means. And I know you talk about sort of deeper health and going into deeper health and sort of really optimizing lifestyles. So right now, when this episode come out, it's January, right? So a lot of people, they've already started their health kick. They've already sort of signed up to the gym or they've tweaked their diet. I mean, I did and I have, and there's certain things that I've put in place. So I'll tell you what I would like to start with. What are the mistakes that people are going to be making right now that's going to prevent them from actually getting the outcome that they want of optimizing their health and fitness? The most common mistakes that you see people make.
I think the biggest mistake is doing too much too soon. Not only on the body, as in doing too much in the gym too soon, trying to run every day, trying to go and train every day, these sorts of things, but which could set you up for injury, which sets you back. But also, is that actually going to work with your schedule? It's great to do it in the first week of January when there's still a few days where you're not back to normality. But if you set yourself up to train 5 days a week and you can actually only do 2 or 3 with your schedule, sometimes when people can't do everything, we end up doing nothing. So I think it's start slowly, do 2 sessions a week, do 3 sessions a week, get that done multiple weeks, and then add another session on if you want to, if you even need to. And another one, I was speaking to a client yesterday about it that she said, "Oh, do you actually want me to hit these calories?" I said, "Roughly, yeah." Now, she said, "Oh, I'm like 500 calories under where I should be." Now, there's way more to health than just tracking your calories and protein, carbs, and fats, looking at your macronutrients. But I just said, the problem that we have, that one of the things you've done, I've worked with her before Christmas, is that she would find that at the weekend she would fall off. And I said, look, if we're on such a low amount, you run a really successful business. You've just moved house. You're such a successful person that there is a lot of stress coming in. Now, if we add more stress from having too high a calorie deficit, eating too little, we're just going to set ourselves up for failure in the long term. We're talking about patience here. Have a small calorie deficit and then look at the compounded effect of what this deficit has over time. And it's that old adage that people say, was it they underestimate what they can do, overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the same with like, I wrote a book called The One Day Body Upgrade, and people talk about, people have said, well, you can't change your body in a day. No, but you can change your body one day at a time. And you can do 1 day, you can do 2, and then 3. And I think that's one of the key things that, another thing, that there's social media trends where we have dry January. And I actually had the conversation with another client this week, and she said, I was going to do dry January, but I've got friends coming over on the 22nd, so I don't want to do it then. I said, well, what's stopping you from doing it the rest of the days? It doesn't matter that you're not doing the whole thing. You don't have to put it on social media. And I think that's those 3 things, like looking at social media trends, doing too much when it comes to training, and under fueling, because we want quick results. We're market. You're a marketer. I'm a marketer. We market for quick results, right? And that's what we want to give people. And the trouble is that when it comes to your health, the sustainable results aren't always the quickest, but you can notice them quickly. And I think that's a key thing.
I can definitely emphasize what you said about actually under eating. So I did a thing with someone a few years back, and I never really used to track calories and stuff. And we tracked them. And what I didn't realize was I was under eating by about 1,000 calories a day. So no wonder that when it came to, but I've always had like a really sweet tooth. And then when it came to binging, I'd really binge on sugar because I was so deficient in my calories and massively deficient in protein. And making a few small shifts to make that. And it's interesting. I mean, I can see behind you, for those of you that aren't watching this on YouTube, but behind Ollie, he's got Atomic Habits, right? And obviously James Clear talks a lot about James Clear talks a lot about sort of introducing habits and starting small, right? And embedding those habits. So rather than go, as a lot of people do, right, I'm gonna go to the gym every day for the whole of January. It's like, well, commit to going twice a week.
Yeah.
and then embed that in, and then incrementally sort of add them on and change them to create the habit over the long term, which like most of us, we want instant gratification, don't we? It's like, how quickly can I get the result? And we've all been guilty of that for sure.
And he also talks about looking past the goal. Like, your goal isn't to drop 20 pounds. Your goal is actually to feel good, to build these habits and become more sustainable. Because no doubt, like, when people, like, many times people have done it, I've had people that have hit their goals, say, cool, that's all good, Ollie, like, I'm going to do it myself, and then come back 6 months later and they're actually further behind than when they started. Like, just doing the short-term goal. And this is a while back when before actually, I think Atomic Habits has been around for a couple of years now, maybe 3 years, something like that. And there was Tiny Habits before that, a different book, which is where he got the ideas of. And if we build our positive habits and stack them on top of other habits that we're doing, and then start to make the negative habits more invisible and harder to actually do, we're going to get much more success.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've all been guilty of it, not necessarily just in health. I've been guilty of it in business in the past. I'm going to email people every day, and then I miss a day and like, I'll do it next week or something. It's looking at, I'm now a believer in how we do one thing, we do all things. So when I talk about practicing what I preach, I want to do that with every aspect as well.
Well, just on that note, one of the biggest shifts for me, I was having this conversation with a client earlier today, is that the two lowest forms of energy are guilt and shame. And a huge amount of people, as soon as they say the term, like, I'm gonna do something every day, or I'm never going to do something, which they're just delusioned by thinking that way, then when they break the everyday or break the never, they then really beat themselves up. So I like, for example, I'm a big fan of morning routines. My morning routine sets me up for energy for the day, sets my focus up, gives me the sort of the energy and, like I say, focus and concentration of what I want to do. And I used to say, all right, I'm gonna do it every day. And then when I didn't, I'd really beat myself up. But as soon as I shifted to, I'm doing my morning routine most days, it made a huge difference. Because then when I only did it 6 days, or I only did it 5 days, I was fine with that. So
I bet now as well, like, you've built up that morning routine, it becomes harder not to do it than to do it.
Exactly. All right. Exactly. So that's one of the biggest mistakes, is people trying to do too much too soon and getting stuck into that side of things. But for people that are kind of, all right, well, I get that. I am going to start small and I am going to build up. What are the key things that people can be doing on sort of a daily basis? Because that's kind of, like you say, you've literally written a book on it, that can improve their energy, that can optimize their lifestyle, sort of key things specifically around moving and nutrition. Do you have any different, I suppose, beliefs and processes that's maybe in the mainstream when it comes to this side of things?
I think it's find out what you love, what you like. I'm not going to say love, because there's potentially a negative connotation that some people have with exercise. I do like exercising, but honestly, if I could get the same feeling and the same results without exercising, I wouldn't exercise. But obviously that gives me that feeling, which I like, and the accomplishment side of things. But I really do think that there's so many pushes towards different diets. If you like eating steak, don't go vegan. If you like eating carbs, don't go keto. It's finding which one works to you. And if it's little bits of each one, if you like the fact of a plant-based diet, and you take some of the aspects of that, and then maybe sort out your carbs around certain timings. And I think it's all about working towards you as an individual. Pretty much all my I've just pushed a more of a group-based aspect with running, but I've been self-employed now since 2013, 14, and a trainer since 2006. And I love one-to-one aspects. Even when I used to do group classes and stuff like that, the one-to-one aspect is because every single person is different, is an individual. I've got twins that I work with. One's in Budapest, one's in Philadelphia. They're completely different people, different lifestyles, different tastes, different loves when it comes to what they do recreationally. And I think there's not as much of a push as doing things individually. And that's what I love to work on with people.
Amazing. I love it. So when it comes to sort of identifying things, because I know you're quite big on kind of getting to know your body, and there's lots of different tools that people can use to kind of identify what's good for them, what's not good for them. Where do you stand on that? And what is it you generally use to help people get clear on what they should and shouldn't be doing?
I'll look at where the symptoms are and then find out where they came from. So a lot of times with people, we have it where the symptom might be they can't lose weight. Where is it actually coming from? Is it coming from eating too much? Is it coming from, usually like it's always going to be from calories in versus calories out to a degree, but why? Is it because emotionally? Is it because of eating too little and then they fall off? Are they just tracking their food wrong? Those sorts of things. But things such as things that are labeled as normal, but actually they're common. Waking through the night. The biggest thing I work with people on is waking through the night. In fact, I done a talk, actually ended up having to do it on Zoom because I got COVID the day before I was supposed to go to London. 2 years to get it, and I got it on the day I was supposed to do a public talk in London, but I had to do it on Zoom. And in introduction to that was that the guy that sent people to sleep over 16 years in 25 different countries. People waking through the night.
Not from speaking to them, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And it was literally people that wake through the night. We think it's normal because so many people do it. Wake once, wake twice, or it's just because I drunk loads of water beforehand, or these sorts of things. When I was competing in bodybuilding, imagine how stressful that side of things is. I used to wake about 3-4 times during the night. I wouldn't say I was unhealthy. I would say I was unhealthy now, but back in the time, I wouldn't say I was unhealthy. And the problem there is that we could have sleeping pills. Go to the doctor, get some Zopiclone prescribed or something like that, send you to sleep, but you don't get the restorative levels of sleep that really help your cells rejuvenate, help your body detoxify. So sleep is the symptom, the problem, the waking during the night. But what is actually causing it? And we'll look backwards. Test blood glucose. Now, do you have to test blood glucose to get healthy? No, but you should know the symptoms of poor blood glucose management. People getting hangry, people getting cravings, people waking through the night. It helps to test it. And I think that shows us the different numbers. What actually happens during the night is our blood glucose drops because we've got poor blood glucose management. We need blood glucose to fuel the brain, primarily fuels off of glucose. And we have cortisol in our body and it gets spiked because the prime function of cortisol is to boost our blood sugar levels. That's also what happens first thing in the morning. So when we do it middle of the night, our body wakes up and it's midway through detoxification. So usually we need to have a wee. We need to go to the toilet. And I think so many times people will look at that symptom, sleep. What will I do? Well, dose up on magnesium. That's going to help me recover. Great. That's one of the things. Or get some melatonin and just look at and then potentially look too deep where we get into those extra 1, 2, 3% when we've done all these foundations, where we go down to the biohacking side of things. And when in reality, we just need to manage blood glucose. How do we do that? Look at our meal composition. And again, everyone's going to be an individual with it and having the consistency there.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And I think you're right. So many people, they underestimate when you treat the cause, the symptoms go. And it is essentially a case of identifying the causes. And like you said, whether it's doing blood glucose tests for the purposes of this person, or when you're saying before about people that are can't lose weight, well, is it because they're measuring wrong? Is it? I mean, it's fascinating. So I've started tracking my food again, beginning of the year, and started doing stuff. And even just something as simple as yesterday. So my partner and I were both eating last night, and she measured out her peanut butter, right? So it's peanut butter on an apple, and I never realized until last year. So for me, a healthy set. So this is a personal example of a prime example. People said to me, "Well, rather than have chocolate, have peanut butter on rice cakes." I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I went and got the peanut butter and I whacked it on the rice cake, and I have 3 peanut butter rice cakes. I didn't realize that the peanut butter that I was having was like 600 calories on these 3. So I thought I'm having like a nice, healthy, low calorie meal. I never realized 600 plus the rice cakes.
Yeah.
And I was flabbergasted. And even yesterday, we were talking like the apple thing, right? We were joking because we're having, like, making it a bit competitive between the two of us. And I just found an apple, right? I was like, all apples are about the same calorie. Well, the apple I selected was like 85 calories. The apple she selected, which was the actual one because she scanned the pack, was like 114 calories or whatever. And even that, it was like a 30 calories. Now, 30 calories, it's like 30 calories, right? But if I was having an apple every day, you know, that's an extra 1,000 calories a month that was wrong just because I selected the wrong apple in my fitness pack. And even like the dollop of peanut butter, like she went and got the scales, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm measuring my peanut butter." I was like, "You crazy? It's about," but that's kind of my. I was like, "No, that's about 50. That's about whatever it was about." And I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe how wrong I was." It was
It's not. I think peanut butter is the biggest one. There's been a lot of times where, I mean, I've done posts on it in the past where it was like a teaspoon of peanut butter, and then like you put a picture and it's a teaspoon heaped.
Yeah,
on a teaspoon, right? Actually, a teaspoon is just quite a flat one, and it's like whatever it's 15, 20 grams or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think I don't measure all my food. I used to, but because I used to do it, I know a bit more about what the portion sizes look like.
Yeah.
So and this is another thing when people say about eating intuitively, I think unless you've done a bit of a process of weighing food and seeing what certain portion sizes are, seeing the differences in calories. This is 100 calories in fat. This is 100 calories in protein, or so on. Intuitive eating is very, very hard to do.
Yeah, I another fun example of this was a few years back. I don't know what your opinion is on this. I'm not really one for tracking everything. One, because I just can't really be bothered. But I understand the process of once you've done it once or twice, you get a bit of an eye for what something is. And then someone said to me, right, have a bowl of Cocoa Pops, right? Was the thing they were saying, like, have a bowl of Cocoa Pops after training, right? Now, I quite like Cocoa Pops. So for me, I was having a bowl, like one of those quite deep bowls filled to the brim, and then having my coconut butter. And then I was saying, right, and then I was still losing calories. So probably not losing calories, not losing weight. And she said, right, when you're having the bowl, like you are, you know, like those little, when you go to a hotel, they have the little like variety pack sizes. Yep. She goes, it's that kind of size, isn't it? I was like, no, it's probably like 4 of them.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But yeah,
you see, there's a picture of like someone with a big glass of wine. So my trainer said I can have 1 glass, and it's like massive glass.
It's like they can fit the whole bottle in the glass. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, in terms of optimizing lifestyle, so I guess for the people that listen to this, one of the things that I really try and get people to go away and have when they listen to these episodes are key things that they can take away and they can implement, right? So we've established starting small. Get to sort of the root cause of the symptoms. So if you aren't getting the result, look at sort of what's the deeper reason as to why those things aren't happening. And we've given some examples there. What else are some key things that people can do, that people like your clients, like Taylor Swift's manager, and the other clients that you've had that have really optimized their lifestyle, got back to maybe feeling and doing and looking how they did 10 plus years ago? What are the key things that people should be doing?
I think the tracking, like we said about calories, but tracking in some form is very, very key. Whether it's actually using something like MyFitnessPal or the Lose It app or anything like that, just tracking so you can see what you're actually consuming. But a big thing that I see, and especially, yes, like we're talking about this in January, and I think it goes for any time of the year, whether it's just after Christmas and New Year, or whether it's after you've just been on holiday, or whenever it is that consistency in our routine is beyond powerful for our body. Our body works on a thing called a circadian rhythm. It's daily clock. I'm sure you've heard of it. And waking at the same time, sleeping at the same time, even at weekends, roughly the same time is going to help you a lot, because the body gets used to thinking 7 a.m., 6 a.m. I wake up, or something like that. 6 a.m. I wake up. Actually, my first meal is at 8 a.m. That's 2 hours after waking. I'm going to start releasing the enzymes, the insulin, to help digest that, to help make sure that I'm ready to utilize those nutrients. And that's going to be 2 hours after waking, I release that. And then I know I'm going to eat at 12 and then 4 and 6 or something like that. So consistency with that when you wake up and when you have your meal times, purely because of, especially if you struggle with bloat, if you struggle with cravings, if you struggle with just eating much more in the evenings, just looking at consistency with your sleep and wake times. And not only that, when we wake up and when we go to sleep, it's not just our digestive enzymes, it's also our other hormones in the body, our growth hormone, the way our brain functions, connecting with the, even like I look out the window, it's dull. We're here in the UK, it's dull, but there's still light. So getting outside as quickly as possible, in the first like half an hour, if possible, definitely within the first hour, even if it's dull, you still go out and you're exposed to that light. And a lot of times, definitely in the last couple of years, people are working from home a lot more. And we're not outside as much, not commuting to and from work for a lot of people, or to and from the office. Getting outside so your body can actually really recharge with the sunlight and connect with that sunlight. And that same thing goes for bedtime as well. A lot of times we're totally wired. There's something on Netflix people want to watch, and we've got FOMO because we've been working hard during the day. We just had our last client call, and then suddenly like, oh, the new season of Cobra Kai is on. I have to watch it before I get a spoiler alert or something like that. And we start watching it, and we're exposed to this blue light, which your body then and brain sees essentially as sunlight. So it starts waking yourself up again and releasing that cortisol. The body produces a thing called melatonin, which helps us go to sleep. And it does that over the course of like 5 hours. So if we have this 5 hour, think of like go to bed at 11, 6 p.m. it starts producing this melatonin. If we then have these bright lights exposed, or high screens, or high stress, or we're scrolling through Facebook just before we go to bed, we end up breaking that procedure, that pattern that is pulling in for that melatonin. And we need to do that again. So then we struggle with actually getting a high enough level of melatonin to get deep restorative levels of sleep for another 4 or 5 hours. I think that's a big thing. And also looking at caffeine intake. That's massive. Like, not just any time of the year, like caffeine intake is massive. If you have to wake up with a cup of coffee, chances are you shouldn't have it. And there's also the coffee makes me poop. That is a joke that people say. Like, you have the coffee, you go to the toilet. Coffee on an empty stomach activates the bowel. And sometimes we're not ready to get rid of those nutrients. We haven't got what we needed from them. And I think that if we have to have a coffee in the morning, wait until you have your breakfast. If you are highly sensitive to it. Like, I went through a phase of having like 6 months with no coffee in the morning. And it was like 2 hours, 3 hours after I woke up, I had my first coffee. That improved my sleep so much, which improved my energy throughout the day, because we're waking up naturally.
Amazing. Well, look, Ollie, thank you so much. I think there's so many key insights here, and I think for a lot of people, this is the kind of the beauty of this situation, is that when you break it down, it's quite simple, but it's a case of doing the simple things, right? So it's doing the simple things, ensuring they're doing and being done consistently in the form of a habit, in that respect. Now, I know that you recently joined the Make It Happen community, which is our Facebook group, which, by the way, guys, if you're listening to this and you're not in, I highly recommend you get involved there. We've got sort of over 5,000 people, a lot of whom are experts like Ollie, are great at what they do. And if people have got any questions about this, would they be cool to sort of post in the group and ask you some questions and see if there's some ways that you can potentially help them?
Yeah, just drop me a message. If it's more personal, they don't want it in the group, then like obviously drop me a direct message. I might answer it in the group as like not with your name there.
Yeah.
Just because if I know someone else can benefit from it, I might answer it to you there, and then just say that this person's asked a question, or this question was asked in a direct message.
Absolutely, that'd be amazing. And for people that are thinking, wow, this is great, I too want to give a surprise 10 or sort of reverse back the years and create a 10-year anniversary for my partner, albeit just give them themselves that benefit. How can people connect with you? Where can they find you? Where can they find out more?
Facebook, obviously, as we just mentioned, it's Ollie Jordan Matthews on there, but my website is ojhealth.com, and it's ojayhealth.com. So go on there. There's a get in touch tab on there if you want to, or just drop me an email, ollie@ojhealth.com.
Wonderful. Well, Ollie, thank you so much for your time. It's really great to be able to connect, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with the listeners here. So extremely grateful for that. And for everybody that's been listening, hope you found it useful. Definitely connect with Ollie. And again, if you've got any questions, come and ask him in the Make It Happen community and get stuck in and enjoy that there. Until next time, guys, make it happen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.